Okay, so question number 2 from Anonymous. I have read 25 to 30 screenwriting how-to books. Is it now vital that I enrol on a course, and if so, can you recommend any?
It is a good question. The thing about answering questions about filmmaking is there's obviously no real right or wrong answer. Now, there are a lot of courses out there available, and I do question how useful a lot of them will be. I think you have to gauge it yourself. What is your own personal experience? Who the person giving the speech or writing the book, how reputable are they? What is their history? What have they done? Obviously, if there was a course in London or a book available written from someone that I deeply admired, then it's probably worth going on it, because they're going to have very good tips, very good secrets and insights into what makes them do what they do. So yeah, of course, they can be great. I don't think they're essential, but then it's one of those, it's a bit like how long is a piece of string things.
I mean, you read how-to books, but I'd also say it's really well worth reading existing scripts, going back classic films, reading Casablanca, reading One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, to seeing how other people put prose. And then you compare Quentin Tarantino's script, which are very minimalist in terms of description, to Ridley Scott scripts when he works on pieces that are just completely detailed, I know obviously Ridley doesn't write his scripts, but you just see how the different filmmakers operate with these different pieces, and that's always been a very useful exercise to me.
Yeah, and that's, again, it's a really good point and such a good resource. You can just Google a script and it's there. You don't have to pay anything. And money is it's a big problem if you're a new filmmaker and you don't have a particularly great income, the same as a lot of actors that start out. If you don't have a lot of money, it's tricky to shout out £100 here and there to go on courses. So what Matt said there about reading screenplays is great advice. I didn't actually go to film school or anything. You did it at uni. So it's interesting to have the difference there, and ultimately everyone has their own journey. You'll end up really at the same place if you keep going, I think.
I mean, you meet 10 filmmakers, you meet 10 different ways of making films, essentially, don't you? So, I mean, a lot of this is just finding your own way. Again, a lot of these books you read are more do not do this, rather than this is the way to write the best screenplay. So from that you kind of get your own style, don't you? But again, there's no real structure to it.
Yeah, and it's interesting because even if I say how I ended up, I taught myself how to write scripts, and I write scripts in my way. So I didn't do a course to learn that, and it was through reading other existing scripts. I remember I read The Sixth Sense, because obviously that was a big film just when I was growing up. I was just old enough to see it, I think, in the cinema, and it was a just great experience. The twist at the end as well, everybody in the cinema gasped, and it was one of the very few times watching a film I was like, wow, they can be really powerful, and it drew me into wanting to be a part of it. But yeah, so I learned to write through reading. So it is an important thing, but not overly.
No, I don't think it's the be or end all, but if you feel that going on a course is the right one for you, I'd always recommend doing a lot of research and checking into guest speakers, so real writers coming in and chatting, because essentially what I'd do is buy them a pint afterwards and chat to them. That's probably the most useful part of the course, because you might get some work out of them. But I think research is a really important part of that.
And yeah, we are in such a fortunate kind of time anyway. The amount of really good, even Q&As like this, just two people talking, the amount of amazing ones you can get for masterclasses from really established filmmakers on the internet, on YouTube. YouTube's been one of the obviously big breakthrough things from the last decade, and that's why it's unlimited information if you spend the time looking for it. But obviously there's something to be said about the collaborative aspect of going to these things as well. It's hit and miss, but I guess you could meet people that end up being colleagues and allies if you get on with these filmmakers at the events. Where it is a certain networking opportunity, and I guess they should never be overlooked.
No. And there's a lot of other alternatives to courses as well. I mean, you yourself belong to a writers group, don't you? Which again, there's lots of that going on around London or whatever part of the country you're on, or even start your own, where you can get a few of you together, bounce ideas off and write, and kind of have Q&As with each other and develop your craft that way.
And that's, yeah, and I guess in case nobody's asked a question that's going to relate to that, that is, again, another really, really good point. Like, writers groups for a writer are massive, because firstly, it's the whole thing about deadlines and setting standards and setting, like, mini goals, because most people have a day job, they earn their money through some other means. You're very fortunate or very successful if you're making your living off of writing. It's a very long journey to get there. I found that anyway. So yeah, like, what was my point there? I was saying something. Are you listening to what I was saying?
Yeah, because we were talking about you being part of the writers group.
Right, let's carry on. So yeah, they're hugely inspirational. So I'm in with a group called Writers Inc. London, and it's great because once every month we'll meet up. And there's many ways like writers groups are structured, but what we do is actually we set it up like we meet at Soho Theatre, and we actually have our own room, and it's like a pitching room. So what you actually do is what we do. It gets us used to being in that environment, and we kind of put each other in those situations where you're talking about what you are doing, what you want to achieve over the next month, what your long-term goals are. And it's kind of like we try and create a false pitching environment so that when you need to do that, if you need to do that, it's kind of inbuilt into what you've been doing, which is useful. Things like that are so useful.
So options.